To turn this demo into a real app, we're going to need a router that will map our URL to different components. React Router provides us with clean configurations, and in the next few minutes, I'm going to be installing the library and setting it up so that we can route or we can build our application to navigate between different pages. First, I need to install the package. So I'm going to open up my terminal. I'll stop the application which is currently running. So now if I go back and refresh, it should be dead. And so I'm gonna do npm install react router DOM. Next, I'm gonna go into my main.jsx file, and I'm gonna change this function here. So instead of rendering our app component, we're gonna render a router provider instead. So over here, I'm gonna do router provider, and this is automatically imported from React Router DOM. Next, I'm going to create a variable that will basically capture all the URLs that we're going to have and the components that they should map to. And as we mentioned before, the idea here is that we want to have some sort of a shell that is common across all of our pages, and then a place that is going to be changing for every page that we're on. So I'm going to start with creating our routes to equal create browser router. This is automatically going to also import from React Router DOM. If it's not automatically imported, just make sure that you do that. And here I'll create an array. That array contains one object. For now, we're starting with one object that basically will have these configuration. So our landing page or our shell for our application is going to be our app layout, which is something that we do not have yet. So I'll actually go back to our app component, and I'm gonna change that so it becomes our app layout instead. So here I'm gonna rename the file, and I'm also gonna rename the component itself. All right, and that's good as a starting point. So this is gonna be our shell. This is where everything is gonna be rendered, and obviously some of those elements here are gonna be common across the different pages that we're on. So I'll go back to my main.jsx, and we've defined our main element. Next, we're going to define what are the children pages or all the different pages that we have inside of that router. That is also going to be an array where we start defining our different pages. So for path slash, basically the landing page, we want to render the element, which is the home page. And next, our path is going to be the slash about, and that should map to the about component. Next, we're going to pass these routes to this router. Actually, should be router. We're going to pass that to our router provider. So the router is this router variable. I'm going to go ahead and save that, and let's go ahead and start the application. All right, so let's reload. Here we're back to our normal application. So we'll switch back to our app layout, and the first thing we'll do is that we're going to remove this switcher that we had. And first, in the place where we used to display the different pages, we're going to replace that with an outlet component. That outlet component is basically where whatever the router renders is going to be displayed in. And that also gets imported from the React Router DOM library here. Next, we're going to replace those buttons with our navigation links here. So the first nav link is going to be going to the landing page. This is going to be called home. And the second navigation link is going to be going to slash about. And the title for it, or the link name for it, is going to be about. Notice how we didn't have to specify what links or what components these should link to. The router is going to take care of all of that for us. I'm going to go ahead and remove everything that is no longer being used or needed for this page, just so we can keep our code clean here. I'll go ahead and save. Now we also use the nav link, which is not really a button. It's more like an href or an anchor tag that you're familiar with from HTML. So maybe one thing I could do is add some sort of a separator between those. So let me go ahead and add a string that is basically the pipe symbol. And if I save that, here we go. That kind of looks nice. We'll stick with that for now. Now, if I click on home, we're still on the same page. But if I click on about, notice how the page rendered very quickly and the URL has also changed as we did that. Now in these videos, let's try to build something that is meaningful. So let's make this kind of a campus events mini application. So what we're gonna do now for the rest of the videos is create more pages and more components that we're gonna map our router URLs to. So here I'm gonna go ahead and create an events list page, JSX, and let me just copy everything from the home page right now and replace the headers and the content. I'm gonna speed up that part. Now I'm gonna go back to our main.jsx and I'll define all the other routes that we just created. So here we have another path for the events page. There's gonna be another one for event details, and we'll talk about that in a second. We'll create another one for the settings page. And I think that's all I created. So let's save this. Something is wrong here. Okay. Let's open up the inspector. Let's put that at the bottom and look at the console to see what errors are we getting. Reference error settings is not defined. So it looks like, yep, we did not rename this component here. And so this was not able to import it. So now let's just go ahead and import it ourselves. Technically, we do not need really the .jsx part, so I can go ahead and remove all of these here. All right. This doesn't look like it's being used, so I'll go ahead and remove it for now. And here we go. We have not updated our app layout, so let me go back to the app layout and create a bunch of these links because we're gonna need them. So here's our events. Here's the link to the settings page. And let's just create one right now for the details. Actually, I'm gonna skip creating one for the details and maybe do that inside of the events page instead. So let me copy one of those links and let's go to the events page and let's create a list, a numbered list that has one list item of that navigation link. This has not been imported, so we need to make sure that we are importing that. Nav link and details. All right, let's see what we have right now. If I refresh this page, did I miss something on the layout? Here's this one. We actually deleted the one that we copied instead of copying it. And here we go. So we're on the home page. Now we're on the about page, events page, and settings page. If I go to the events and click on some event, it will take me to the event details page. Now, what if I try to navigate to a page that does not exist, like something? Right now we get this application failure error that is not being created or developed by us. This is the one that comes out of the box from React Router because we have not properly handled this scenario here. So one of those ways to handle it, and that would be kind of a placeholder for now, is that I'll go back to the main.jsx, and towards the bottom of this list, I'm going to add another one that basically targets anything else. So we're using the wildcard here. We want this to map to another component, and let's call this the not found component. We do not have this page yet, so let me go ahead and create that. New not found.jsx, and let's create or copy one of our other pages here, and this will be error 404 not found, maybe trying to access a page that doesn't exist. If I save that, I'll go back to the main.jsx and make sure that we've imported the not found page. And here we go, we get our application back. However, there is an error that says we're not exporting that named not found. So if I go back to the not found page, we'll find that we have not renamed our component. And save that, refresh, here we go. If you try to go to any other page other than your own, you get this error page that you are creating yourself. The nice thing about it is that it will keep your navigation list in place, so it still kind of feels like it's still within your application and not some random error page that is generated by the tool here. Our routes now are live and wired, and now in the next video we're going to polish this with navigation styles, and we're going to talk about how we can have a clean programmatic redirect as well.